First of all, welcome to Signature Builds. This is a new channel where we're going to be following the restoration of this 135-year-old Welsh cottage from start to finish. And hopefully you're going to stick around to see the journey of this property go from nothing to actually something. So with all that said, roll the intro. So the plan for the living room is it's quite narrow. Now, obviously living back home, we live in bigger houses.
Before I even begin to waffle, let's take a look at the existing layout of this 130-year-old shed. After all the time that's passed, it still looks beautiful, but could still do with a bit of a spruce up. We will begin by looking at the ground floor, and as you can see, something clearly just doesn't quite work. It's dark, narrow, and the lounge area feels small and cramped, as well as the kitchen and utility room. So to overcome this, I have made the executive decision to demolish the dividing wall by adding a steel beam that spans from both gable ends to ensure the floor joists are still supported. You've probably already gathered that BIM drawings don't quite fit the budget on Signature Builds, so I'm afraid a game such as The Sims will have to do for these buttery layouts. Once the wall is gone, the next job is to construct two more walls made from plasterboard and 3x2 timber. This will allow the kitchen area to be expanded and the utility room to be compressed, which will leave us a large open plan L shape. All the materials removed will continue life in a skip provided by a local Welsh firm, which I'm yet to source, and yes, this includes a tattooed toilet that was sat next to the sink in the old utility space. And with that, I join you back in the house.
This supporting wall is going to go. We're hoping to get it out. We'll have to put a steel RSJ in across. I won't be doing this, I'll be getting someone to put the steel in. But before we do that, obviously we've got to remove all the services. Now, to do that, it's going to be all open plan downstairs, but you might be looking at me thinking, where are we going to put the television? Now, in this room, I want to achieve a nice TV at low level, I want to achieve a nice fancy wine rack, which you'll be seeing some pictures on the screen now to show you, and I really want a log burning stove. Now, the log burner has to go on an external wall. So we're thinking if we put the log burner here, we can run the flue external out and up, and then to put the TV in, we're going to build a wall up here, just a stud wall, which I'll be doing, and it'll come off and chamfer off that way, and all underneath here will be glass and all lit up with wine racks, and the TV will go on this wall above. So for us to begin with this now, we've just had two guys come around to have a look at doing the steel and putting it in. I need to remove the services ready, so I'm going to be disconnecting these light fittings and sockets, pulling the ring main back up to the ceiling and coiling it up out of the way, and there's a radiator on the other side of the wall which we need to get rid of. So if you want to see me disconnect some lights and some sockets and get rid of the radiator, stay watching, because that's what we're doing right now. One thing I thought I'd highlight with this Welsh cottage is the heating system. Now, most new heating systems in houses run off condenser boilers. This house is quite strange. It's 135 years old, and in this village there's actually no incoming gas main. So there's no gas roads, gas services coming in from the road. A lot of the commercial properties run on LPG and propane tanks, where they have a big tank that comes and gets filled by BOC. The residential properties run on an oil tank as such that you can see now. Now the oil tank that we have is 1200 litres, it's 52 pence a litre, it's quite expensive, so to fill it it's £600. Roughly, we don't have an idea how long it will last. The heat loss in this house is just shambolic. We've got single glazed windows, they're condensated every morning, it's just cold, and it's a real small house, but it takes a lot to heat because the walls are so damp. There's an oil line that runs under the ground and it goes to an external boiler. Now the external boiler burns the oil when there's a demand for heat. So you open the hot tap, it drags the oil through, burns the oil as a fuel, so there's no gas required. Now one thing we want to do with this house is we want to try and eliminate the burn of oil and go back to the old days of burning log burners, because it's quite common around here, or burning coal. It's a lot cheaper and it's a lot warmer. So logs, yes, they cost money to buy, but I've got friends that can get me some for free of charge basically, so the logs won't cost me anything, so that'll be going in. And that hopefully will explain to you lot how the heating works now and how it will work in the future. Obviously the hot water will still be run through the oil, but the heat from the house will be collated from a log burner.
And as the crash bang wallop commenced, we was one step closer to getting this house back to a bare shell.
Now obviously with this wall coming out, this radiator needs to go. So I've isolated the lock shields, and there's going to be a bit of water. We're going to unbolt it, tip it in a bucket, get rid of it, remove these pipes so they're dangling, and the lads can come in and put the steel in and get rid of this wall. Oh. Surprise, surprise, the lock shields have actually knackered on the radiator, so they're not isolating. So when I'm actually opening the radiator to drain the water out, it's actually taking the pressure out of the heating system. Now, I want to get it off, but I'm not going to do it now because it is quite late in the evening. It's getting on 6 o'clock, and obviously I don't want to be fannying around now and in a rush to get the heating back on for tonight. So it'll have to be another job when we come back. But it's just a shame really. I had a feeling that the lock shields had been knackered, and trust to that, there was. So luckily I've been able to put the pressure back in the boiler outside and sort it out, but I think we're going to have to wait to do that job when we come back next week. So I'm going to rip the kitchen cabinets out instead. Well, they came out easier than I thought, but the walls are very sticky, so it's...
I should probably tell you a little bit about the state I acquired the house in. The word dismal springs to mind, and the only way I can describe it is imagine smoking 60 a day for 11 years and not cleaning the house once. So with the aid of my Yankee friend, Mr. Febreze and Sir Scented Sticks, you'd think we'd be onto a winner. Oh, how was I terribly wrong. The only way the smell is going to leave this house is to strip back and start again. And just before I couldn't think it'd get any worse...
I think we've got rats in the loft.
No, please stop it. I've really got a phobia of rats. I really don't like rats.
Now as you can see, there's all sorts of droppings present in the house. It's either rats or mice, but they look quite big. Now I think there has been rats here, or there is ones in the loft, and it wouldn't surprise me because the woman that lived here before, you can see from the state she's left it, it was awful. Which has kind of put me off ripping the ceiling out now, but it's got to be done. So I'm going to mask up, I'm going to get my gloves on and some long sleeves, and we'll smash it.
Join me next time on Signature Builds, where I expose the rat's nest and begin to vault the ceilings. But for now guys, make sure you absolutely slap that subscribe button in style.
A bit deranged, slapped a band